Hello, my twin flame loves. I'm so happy to be here today, and thank you so much for being Patreon supporters. Here's a special little guest, my twin.
What's up, guys?
So we're going to be asking him a couple questions that I know has been on everybody's mind, and my side of the story is great, but to hear it from the male side, that's what we're really interested in. So our first question is probably the biggest questions. Why do men run?
I think there's two different versions of that question, because I think it depends on if it's early in the relationship or longer. You got two different answers.
Okay, so let's start off with why would men run within the first 3 dates, let's say?
Okay, if you pry for compliments, we see that as insecurity. So general signs of insecurity, we don't like that. If you're trying to lead conversations too much, we don't like that. We don't like, just basically let them, men are taught that they're supposed to lead, you know what I mean? That's what we're taught. So in a date, if we're not leading, we might think something's going wrong. You know what I mean? If I'm not asking you questions on the first date or something, and you're asking me questions, and it's feeling like I'm being interviewed by you, it doesn't just feel like a natural conversation, you know what I mean, or anything like that. It just feels like I'm getting questioned. My confidence will kind of shoot down. So basically, if they feel like a big thing's inadequacy, I would think most men, if they feel inadequate ever, will run. First few dates, 5 years down the line, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. If a man feels like he's not good enough in a situation.
Now, does that mean that the woman can never be honest and express when maybe there is an inadequacy, or is there just a softer way we can approach this, or how would we approach this? We're just supposed to be quiet if something happens?
Well, if he's actually inadequate, why are you with him, though? Is the big question you have to ask yourself. But then at the same time, no, you could criticize someone all you want, but then understand what happens on the inside of the other person. That's essentially what you have to do. So if like any criticism, if you do it right, it's going to be accepted the right way. You know what I mean? You could easily word it in a way where if a man feels it's like respect, though, too. You have to do it in a respectful manner. Otherwise, I'm not going to respect it myself. I'm going to think it's, that's what men do. They operate off, not to sound sexist, but like the stereotypical man operates like a stereotypical man. Like, that's just how it works. I haven't met a straight male that doesn't act like another straight male on a lot of things. Like, respect is huge. We have to feel confident and adequate. That's like big part of, everything that we are. We have to feel like we're a leader. Even if we're not leading the situation, the illusion of that could feed into us just as much.
So, on dates, there's always that awkward pause, that awkward silence, and a lot of times, as women, we tend to ramble on because we feel like, oh, no, we don't want it to be boring. We want to make sure he's having a good time.
Just don't.
Just let the silence happen?
Yeah, that's like a huge thing anyway in a relationship, whether it's friendship or anything. If you could both peacefully be quiet and accept that you're both quiet, that says a lot about your relationship. Because if you're still happy and neither one of you are talking sitting there, then there you go. That should be a big sign in itself.
If you can enjoy the silences. Okay, so let's say that you made it past the first couple dates. Maybe we're a few months down the road. What are some things that can make a guy just drop? Because I will say, in a lot of these relationships, everything is seemingly really going good on the woman's side, and everything's, happy. Maybe there's little tiffs here and there, but for the most part, it's a happy relationship. The guy seems happy, and then he just cuts out, almost without notice on our end.
If, a lot of women, if they kind of question something their guy does a little bit, right? They might pry a little bit. So, for instance, if, I have female friends and male friends from all around the world. I do medieval combat, right? If, let's say you started accusing me, or not even accusing me, just questioning whether or not I did things with women or something. You know what I mean? If you are showing a lot of distrust, and it's not just a one-time thing, I'm saying, like, if it starts to repeat.
And we're talking about out of nowhere. Like, I just know that he's going to a medieval event, and there happens to be women there, and I know there's not service, so I don't get to talk to him for 3 days. If I were to freak out during that time, that's what we're trying to talk about.
Or even if it's, like, someone I work with and we're having lunch.
Something. A friend that he's had for years from high school.
Or that. Or anything. It could be a direct threat in a way to your livelihood, I guess, in your own brain. But the guy thinks if he's not doing anything, he's going to automatically think either you're doing something or that you just don't trust him, which is just as bad.
So if you keep asking and he keeps saying, no, I'm really not doing anything, and it's come up more than once, more than twice, more than a few times, and you really don't have any proof that he's doing anything bad, he's just in the presence of the opposite sex or a sex he would find attractive, and you keep questioning, he's going to automatically assume that you're the cheater and that you're actually projecting that fear onto him.
Or at least you have some serious issues, because if you're worried about that, I mean, and there's nothing going on. I mean, that's what's going. His brain's going to run all sorts of places, you know. Or just if he starts to feel inadequate, he's going to step out and he's just not going to say anything. That's really, really common. In fact, that's probably the most common thing, is he just doesn't feel like he's good enough. That could be, you could be extremely attractive and he's trying to tell you he's extremely attractive. Like a lot of men will say that you're super beautiful, I don't deserve you, and stuff like that. I tell her that sometimes. But I mean, that's like what guys kind of think sometimes. So if the guy thinks that you're too good for him, or he can't handle you the way you need, you know what I mean, or something, he may just disappear. Like, that's just what guys do. Like, like our confidence level, if it drops that low, you know what I mean, that's just what we'll do.
So in layman's terms...
Or if it's too good. I mean, it could be just be too good of a relationship, and he feels like he doesn't deserve this. He might run off. You know, there's a ton of men out there that will just run from good things because they don't trust it in themselves.
Is it a fear of once they get the good thing that one day that good thing might leave them, and then what would they do without it? Or is it a fear of breaking the good thing, or what is the fear?
All of it.
Okay.
I mean, every form. I mean, inadequacy. Like you feel either you're not capable of keeping it this good, right? Or you don't deserve it. You know what I mean? All sorts of things could be there. You know, I mean, that's just like, that's why like respect levels are really important. Because then, if they feel more like an equal to you, they're probably more likely to stay. If they put you on a pedestal too high, then they may run from you anyway. Like if you're too perfect.
And that actually makes sense. Can we talk a little bit about our relationship? You had mentioned that you had felt that way.
Yeah, I ran from her.
So during our relationship, we had like little ups and downs, but we were so similar in our moods and things that when I told him about my troubles, I didn't think it was going to stress him out or be too much for him, but he also had his own things. So eventually he broke up with me. It was very like abrupt in my mind, and it went from like, you know, seeing him every day to zero communication.
Yeah, you had said something and it made me feel like I was not capable of helping or anything really. So I just ran.
And to men, it's easier to just run from the situation than it is to talk it out and go work through it at that point in time. But I think it's important to know if you have that true connection, the person is going to be like thinking about you in the time that they're not together. Is this true?
Yeah. I mean, men are always going to look back and kind of think about, you know, how is that person doing or whatever. I mean, if you're like the best thing I could ever tell someone is to just live your life the best way you know how and love yourself. Because if you're confident in yourself and you keep moving forward or whatever, he's going to think that about you. He thinks that you're confident and you keep moving forward in life, and he's going to think that's good. That's a good quality to have. That's never a bad quality to have, to be happy about your own life. That is the best quality you could have. I mean, you shouldn't you should never like question yourself. You should just keep moving forward. If you think you're doing something right, then he's gonna see that.
What do you have to say about love language?
I think that's probably one of the bigger things too, is that people communicate in different ways.
So you might be a very touchy-feely person, meaning that you need a lot of actual physical attention, or you might be a gifts person. Here, I brought you this. You might need to see acts of kindness, like they did something for you, maybe took out the trash, or sometimes it's being the provider, paying for the bills, and sometimes it's, there's like, I forget how many, I think is there 5 different love languages?
I have no idea, but I know everybody communicates it differently.
And sometimes people are a mixture of everything.
I'm cuddly and stuff, but I'm very dry and analytical when I speak, and that could be a problem with people a lot of times, because I have a hard time communicating a lot of emotion, like in my voice and stuff. And when I do, sometimes I'm not even trying to or whatever, and people pick up on something that's not even there. Just because my voice kind of fluctuates up and down and like weird stuff. Like, it's just part of who I am or whatever. But like, so I'll tell her like how beautiful I think she is, because I do think she is beautiful, and how much I love her and stuff. But I'm not as empathetic as most. So I could be really bad at communicating empathy or something like that. I have empathy, but I just am bad at communicating it. Or like some people give gifts a lot. Some people, that's what they do. They just give you things. They might not ever tell you how much they love you. They just give you a bunch of stuff. Or sometimes they'll just start doing things for you. Like, my grandmother, the way she shows love to people is she does dishes and she cooks food and stuff like that. That's her showing love. She'll say she loves you or whatever sometimes, but what's more often is she's going to offer to do things for you. So it's just like, it's give and take. Everybody's got different.
So you need to figure out what your love language is and what it is that you truly need from a relationship and a partner, and see, are these things that you can live without, or are these things that you must have? And then look at your twin. Are these things that they are willing to offer? And if not, is that a sacrifice that you are willing to do?
I wouldn't even necessarily look at it that way. I would almost look at it more like see how other people communicate it as well. I wouldn't focus. Yeah. If you're happy with your own life, it shouldn't be a problem. If you find someone you like to be around, you could figure out how they communicate love, and that's what you should cherish, is when they do that.
That's true.
Figure that out.
If you can recognize what their love language is. Oh, look, they just bought me something. I didn't ask for this, but it's something I needed. Oh, they love me. And then be satisfied with the amount of love in the way that they give it. That's probably the key.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? He's got some good ideas.
From a male, that's just the male idea of that. Like, because she communicates love way different than I do in her own way. She's a lot more energetic.
I sometimes will straight up attack him. Yeah. We're retarded, cute, and we make people around us sick, but I don't care. I'm like, I don't care.
But that's just, it is what it is. You got to understand how people communicate.
And then, let me see. I think we had one more thing just to round it up. Okay, so basically the guys run mostly because they're feeling insecure, because the woman has
trust, respect, and insecurity.
Respect, and insecurity. Okay,
those
so
are
there
the
we
three
go.
Huge things. If I feel like you're not respecting me, I want to bounce out too.
So if you see that he's been really on you, and then all of a sudden he's starting to pull away, the thing to do is not start texting him incessantly. It's not to show up at his house, start calling his friends and family.
If you look like you're obsessed at all, a guy's just going to run away from you. And then just never talk to you again. That's an Audi 5000. Or if there's just a bunch of things, like, there's not a bunch of things, but it's mostly just based off those 3 things. Like, if
we need to let them be the hunters.
If they feel like they can't handle you, they're going to run. If they feel like they don't deserve you, they're going to run. If they feel like you can't handle them, they're going to run. And if they feel like you don't respect them, they're going to run. That's a simple way to say it. Those are the things.
That has been awesome. I really think that that's going to help a lot of the women out there that have been wondering what's going on and what happened.
I'll touch back on the first date stuff. Don't try not to lead conversations. Try to let him lead the conversations, at least on the first 2 dates. Maybe the third date you could lead a little bit, but try to give him his. He wants his control. And then
well, control's a bad way to say that. Let's say I use the hunter-gatherer thing because just throughout time, if you came back and you're the feminine, you chose to become the gatherer. The masculine chose to be the hunter. So think about that. Your aspect is you want to gather the man, right? Well, he wants to hunt. He doesn't want to be hunted. And in this moment, gather yourself and allow him to see if you're the prey that he wishes to hunt. And then on the let him work. Let him ask you some questions, find out what he wants to know about you, the way he wants to know, or let him talk about himself for a little bit. He's eventually going to ask you questions about yourself, and then...
Yeah, I don't care how narcissistic a dude is. He's going to stop talking about himself eventually.
Exactly, because he wants to know what he's into.
But if it takes more than a date, I wouldn't talk to him if I were you.
So there you go. Well, I love you all so much. Do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, so... Yeah, what did I just say?
You just went over the basics, respect and let the man lead on the first date.
Yeah, on the first, this is what shoot.
I think we got it. So it's basically we want to let the man lead and ask the questions.
You could edit this part out, right?
Yeah.
So on the first date, you don't let him lead the conversations. At least, well, not completely lead, but lead the conversations. Let him feel like he has control a little bit, like the reins of the conversation. And then don't pry for anything. So don't pry for compliments, don't nag. Don't do anything like that.
Don't start off being like you've been married 30 years, pretty much.
Well, don't ever act like that, actually. And then don't act clingy yet. Because there's no reason to.
Oh, a man's talking to me. Yay! Are you going to marry me yet?
Yeah. Don't do anything that would make you run, too, I guess.
Exactly.
That's pretty much what it is.
That's a great way of putting that. We should have opened with that. Don't do anything that would make a man run, or that would make you run. If you're gonna do something that's gonna make you run, think about it. Don't do it. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I think that we'll be seeing more of him later. If you guys have questions you want to post to my twin and have him answer it, that's only here on Patreon. Your guys' support makes everything, and we couldn't do it without you. I really, really appreciate your time, and thanks for showing the love. We'll talk to you all later. Bye.